Hello, my name is Jamie Bilsbach, and I'm Center Director for the Central Mountain Small Business Development Center. And joining me today is Candace Bryans, who is the founder of CB Wine Consulting and owner of BV Cowork. She's also a budget analyst, and we're so excited to have her join us today for strategic finance session. She also has recorded for us several other Finance Sense series, which are all available on demand. The Central Mountain Small Business Development Center and the Colorado SBDC Network are here to help Colorado businesses thrive, and we do that through no-cost confidential consulting with a variety of advisors that are either local or we have access to statewide experts. And we also offer free and low cost training and events such as today's workshop. And we support with access to capital via lean business planning, as well as performas, financial gatherings, introductions to lenders, and even supplying lists of different lenders. Our center is hosted by Chaffee County as our fiscal host, and then Park and Lake counties are our co-host. And our main grant comes from the SBA, and we're managed through the Office of Economic Development and International Trade. No matter where you are in the state, there's actually an SBDC center in your area. We are the 3 yellow blocks in the center of the state and one of the smallest centers, but you can see you can access any of our centers. And we encourage you to do so by following that QR code. And now I'm going to pass it over to Candace Bryans. Thank you.
Okay. So I am going to kind of walk us through the roadmap of what we're going to discuss today. And I'll reference several of the other sessions that are on demand because a lot of the information that we've covered in the previous on-demand classes, it really goes into detail about a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk just a little bit about what is strategic finance and how you can use strategic finance to help your small business. And then we're going to discuss the elements of strategic finance, building a strong financial foundation and what that entails, strategic growth and risk management, preparing for the future, which is very important at the beginning of your business and as your business evolves over time. And then we'll go a little more in depth with things that might come up in a business that is more well established and looking at growth, or you're so established you're looking at selling. So we'll talk about mergers and acquisitions, what that is, and how and when you might use that as a business. We're going to talk about capital investments and how that can be used as a tool in your business. And then lastly, we'll talk about launching new products or services, what that entails, when you might consider it, and how understanding your financials as a business can help you tackle those more in-depth things that you probably wouldn't come across right as you're starting. Okay, so what is strategic finance? It's the process for unifying and translating data in a business into actionable insights that would help with the growth of the business and increase profitability in the long run. So this is more than just working with one of us at the SBDC to create a plan and a pro forma to get started. This is more looking at trends in your financials over the years and determining if you have an excess of capital, what to do with it. If you might need to launch a new product or service, when's a good time to do that? And could it increase profitability? And when we're talking about strategic finance, this is a little different than just looking at your profit and loss statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. If those three terms sound like a foreign language to you, we have several videos where I walk you through every one of those financial statements, every part of them, how to use it, what those words mean. So those are on demand. Definitely go back and watch those. But essentially, how to take the information that you have from financial statements and also from your point of sale system, other systems that you use, and being able to take that real time data and actually use it to make strategic financial decisions that are going to drive the growth of your business. The other key thing that strategic finance focuses on is spending less time on traditional accounting tasks like putting in your expenditures and closing your books every month, and focusing more on using the data that you have to achieve long term financial goals and to make data driven financial decisions. All right, next slide, Jamie. Okay, so with that idea in mind, I want to talk just a little bit about what strategic financial management is. So it's analyzing your overall financial situation and the external conditions in the market that you're in to make informed decisions about whether to invest money back into your business, whether to invest back into operations, whether your business might want to partake in other activities to obtain your long-term financial objectives. All right. So if you're at the point where you're open and you've been operating for several years, you're probably at the point where you're kind of familiar with, okay, our typical sales are X, our typical cost of labor is uh, a certain amount. This is more thinking about managing your business with a long-term outlook. So this is focusing on your company's next 3 to 5 years. And the more established your business is, and the more you really start to understand your sales, your expenses, opportunities for growth, you should have a 3 to 5 year plan. This is also something we can help with at the SBDC. We don't just help only people who need pro formas for purposes of funding, but also the pro formas, and we have an entire video on how to create one should you need it. A pro forma can help you make decisions that are go or no go. Do I want to add a new product or service? Do I want to branch out and open a second location? Pro formas help you answer those kinds of questions. And so when we're talking about strategic financial management, we want to be thinking about, okay, our next 3 to 5 years and where we want to be. Other things you really want to be thinking about are if you were to sell your business at any point, as you're building your business, and even in the beginning stages of your business, is the best time to think about the end game. You're probably not going to run your business till you croak. Maybe you are. But at some point, you might want to retire. You might want to have life changes. You might actually want to sell your business. You might want to acquire another business and wrap it into the plan that you currently have. If you don't have a plan for that, you're going to have to really scramble to get things where you need them to be able to take that next step. It's much better if you've got a 3 to 5 year plan. And that's kind of our goal today, is to talk about what is strategic financial management and what that could look like in terms of your business. Okay, so the scope of strategic finance, and this is really where we're going to spend our time, is dissecting these things. What are they and what would that look like in effect in a business? So the scope of strategic finance refers to the specific aspects of financial management that are focused on aligning financial decisions with the overall strategy and goals of your organization. All right. So the first half of what we're going to talk about really focuses on planning, forecasting, dialing in your budgeting and financial reporting, having a plan for risk management and assessment. And then the second half of our presentation today is going to look at assessing the financial impact of some of the strategic decisions you've made. So that would be looking at higher level things like mergers and acquisitions in your business, capital investments, and new product developments. Next slide, please, Jamie. Okay, so what are the benefits of strategic finance? So I've created several different presentations within the realm of finance, and we just recently did one on budgeting. We've done some on reading your financial statements. We've talked just a little bit about forecasting or creating those pro formas that are forward-looking financial statements. And the reason for covering all of those tools is that we hope that you're putting them into practice in your business for a couple of different reasons. You're going to be much better at making decisions for your business in real time. If you understand how to analyze your financial data, if you know how to create a forecast so that you're not operating from a reactionary place in your business, but that you can start to plan for and see things coming down the road. It's great because it helps you identify like new opportunities that might arise for your business. Every new opportunity is not a go for a business. If you're familiar with all of your financial data and you know what you expect to do in the future, it can and help you make decisions about which not new opportunities would be best for your business. It also helps you avoid risk earlier. It also leads to increased profitability and financial stability. Other benefits are increased profitability. So businesses can increase their profitability and financial stability by managing your cost and maximizing your revenues. And partially maximizing your revenues, bringing in more business, but also being able to know, okay, there's a cost associated with additional items I'm going to bring in or services I'm going to provide. So this can be achieved through various strategies such as cost-cutting measures, pricing changes, marketing initiatives you might launch, and have several other videos where I really go into detail about how you can manage the profitability of your business, specifically the budgeting one that we did recently. Other opportunities and benefits of strategic finance are that it allows for transparent and accurate financial information to be provided to investors or to yourself. This way, your business can build trust and confidence. Strategic financial management and having transparent and accurate financials is very important when you get to the point that you might want to expand your business or sell your business. I spend a lot of time working with entrepreneurs who are at the point where they want to sell their business, and because of inaccurate or incomplete historical financial data, once your books are closed and you've submitted your taxes for the year, it is very hard to go back and change historical financials. And when you're at the point that you're thinking about selling your business or maybe merging or acquiring another business, investors or the potential buyer may ask to look at your financials. Strategic finance and putting the target of looking at my finances and making good decisions based off of them early on in your business is going to help you avoid some of those pitfalls. A lot of times, if you're looking at selling a business, especially if your business is newer or getting a new type of funding because maybe you're going to grow into a new area, business purchasers and also banks will ask for your tax returns. And if you've recorded things incorrectly, even though you can make, changes in financial statements manually, you can't really go back and change what you filed. And that will get people in a lot of trouble. So I think that improving investor and stakeholder relations is really important and a benefit of managing things strategically. And then last but not least, it helps you manage risk better. Strategic financial management requires you, the business owner, to identify and analyze potential risk frequently. That way you can develop strategies to mitigate or avoid those risks. It also protects the financial health of your business in the long run, and it ensures that you will be successful in the long run. Okay, so we are going to focus on the elements of strategic finance, and we're really going to kind of focus on the first three bullet points, kind of the budgeting, um, looking at a strategic budget, looking at different things that we can set up within our business to help us execute, be profitable, and protect the health of our business in the long run. Okay, so we're going to focus on kind of the building of strong financial foundation in terms of how do we do that for strategic finance. So adopting strong financial strategies is going to help shield your business from economic uncertainties and will pave the way for sustainable growth. This approach not only stabilizes your day-to-day operations, but more importantly, it allows you to be making decisions day to day, week to week, month to month, looking at what is happening in the market around me, looking at how are my competitors doing compared to me, so you can make decisions of maybe I need to change my offerings, maybe I need to differentiate what I have to offer. It also helps you in cases like, COVID, who could plan for that, to be able to think on your feet and have like a contingency plan for, okay, we are in the worst case scenario. What are we going to be doing going forward? So some of the key foundational elements, and we're going to talk about each of these a little bit and how you could use these to help you build and maintain financial strength. So we want to make sure that we're managing our cash flow well. We want to make sure that we are tracking our expenses and understand our expenses inside and out. And I know I mentioned it before, but the um, budgeting class that we have online and on demand really like dials into all of those things. Profit reinvestment, putting money back into your business, and then utilizing financial tools and techniques. Just a few things I want to mention there that you could be using. And if you aren't using, I would encourage you to figure out how to incorporate those into your business. Okay, so cash flow management is a huge issue for a lot of businesses. And part of managing cash flow is knowing what you bring in and what's going out the door. So these two are on the same slide because they kind of go hand in hand. But also, cash flow management is thinking, when we're talking about strategic finance, is not just thinking about, do I have enough to cover myself this month, day, or year? It's thinking about like your equipment in the long term. Is your equipment going to be completely worn out or need to be replaced in 3 years? Okay, what does it look like to start planning for that now if you know that's coming? Or is there a piece of equipment that is just integral to just absolutely how your business operates? If that piece of equipment goes down or out, what happens to your business? Having a plan for having cash on hand to take care of that, or having contingencies in place to take care of that. So ways that we can help manage our cash flow from a strategic standpoint are, number one, monitoring it, so that you can start to forecast or project needs that you're going to have, like the piece of equipment that I just discussed. Hypothetically, that's a need you might have. Potential shortfalls. Are there times of year that you're slower than others? Is there going to be a year in your business's future in the next 3 to 5 years where you absolutely know you have to expand or buy something expensive, planning for it now? A big thing is timing your cash inflows and outflows, so that you can keep operating. A lot of times, people don't think about the fact that you can pay an entire insurance policy up front. You can change the due date of certain things so that everything that you have doesn't fall on the first of the month. Those are really easy ways to time cash inflows and outflows. but also like to plan for, okay, if I know I'm bumping in July, maybe I'm going to schedule to pay for my entire insurance policy then all up front. Maybe I don't break it out, month over month or quarterly because it's just going to be too expensive. And maybe, you know, October is my slow month, whatever it is for you. And then the other big thing is to regularly review your habits. So you should be looking, if you have accounting software set up, if you don't do it, um, you can run a cash flow statement. You can see, and we have an entire video on cash flow statements and how to read them and how to know if you're investing or operating activities, where are you spending most of your money. You should be reviewing those pretty frequently. So you can be saying, okay, here's what we've done in the past. Here's what I see is coming up. Here's what I need to plan for in the future. Expense tracking, if you're not using accounting system in our budgets, I use all different kinds of accounting software. I would say QuickBooks is usually easy for people, and most accountants accept it. I know some people use an account. Sorry, I saw a question in the chat. If you're like, why'd you just start saying that? The question was, what accounting software do I suggest? The other one that I've seen some people use is Wave. Wave is completely free, which is appealing to a lot of people. I will say not all accountants and CPAs are very familiar with Wave. So the support that you could get from your accountant or CPA might be a little limited. Um, so those are the two like I'm most familiar with for small business. You're welcome. Um, so expense tracking, this is going to help you identify where on earth your money is going and areas where potential savings can be made. It optimizes the use of your resources. It helps you significantly cut costs without compromising on quality. You might be able to negotiate discounts with vendors based on volume, or you may be able to shop around and say, hey, I found this and this from another vendor, and here were their pricing, but I'll buy everything from you as my main vendor if you can match the price on these two items that maybe were a little cheaper with someone else. Tools such as digital accounting software can automate this process, reduce errors, and save time. If you have a POS system, POS systems, a lot of them have really detailed in-depth reporting. Even if they're not linked to your accounting system, those can also be a really great place to track like your cost of goods sold or track how much of an item you've been purchasing or how many of an item you've been selling and what the revenues associated with it in the past are. And those are going to be really great detail points to help you track your expenses, manage your cash flow, and make educated decisions about what to invest in or where to cut costs in the future. So let's talk just a little bit about reinvesting your profits. So when we talk about reinvesting profits, wisely reinvesting profits back into your business is a strategy that promotes long-term growth and stability. If you reinvest towards areas like research and development, it's a tax credit. You can invest in new equipment, which is going to be an asset that adds value to your business if you were going to sell it. Or you might put it back into employee training. This is investing in your business's future in enhancing productivity, in improving the service, quality, and innovation potential of your business. All of these are really critical to sustain your business success. So I'll give a real life example. I have a co-working space. We have a community work area, and we have a couple of private offices. So one of the questions I've asked myself often is, would it make more sense to move my community space into one of the offices that I could shut off? Or does it make sense to kind of have it in our common area? So I had to ask myself, okay, if I took the community space and put it in its own enclosed space, but I lost the revenues from that office. Would putting desk where the community space used to be offset the change in revenues for me? And is there more potential revenue and less cost associated with moving that? Okay. Why do I talk about that in reinvesting? Okay. Well, I'm going to have to put some money into creating a community space that you could present items to, like a TV on the wall. I would need its own little coffee and snack area. I would need to buy a couple more desks to put where that community table used to be, because now I'll need the revenue from those to compensate for the office, the private office rental I just lost. Okay, that's a question of, does reinvesting into more desk and other items for an area that would allow someone to rent a conference space, does that reinvestment pay off for my business in the long run, or isn't it an expense to me that I'll never recuperate? And would losing the revenues from that space hurt my business in the long run? Okay. If I don't know how much money I bring in from the private desk or private office every year and the cost associated with it, I can't answer that question of, is reinvesting into buying more desk and nicer things for a presentation room, is it worth it? So that would be an example of like reinvesting back into your business. And it's a great use of funds, especially if it aligns with your long-term goals. So you have to ask yourself questions like I just did for what I'm thinking about doing. In the long run, does that profit the business? Is it an expense that doesn't make sense in the long run? And as much as most people don't want to hear it, it's a great place for a pro forma to be used so that you can decide go or no go, or do I add 2 new desks or 4 new desks? And you can kind of make a determination based on revenue, future revenues, future expenses, future cost of goods sold. What does that do in terms of where I see myself in the next 3 to 5 years? Um, I'll also say that when you reinvest profit, it is really helpful in terms of reducing your tax liability. If you're going to spend money paying taxes on revenues you didn't spend, investing them into your business, money that's been reinvested back into the business is not taxable, it's expensed. So if the option is I could pay taxes on revenues, or I could use the revenues to grow my business and save money that I would have paid in, sometimes that's the better option. So when you talk about reinvesting profits, sometimes this is a good question and a time to sit down with your CPA and say, okay, here's how much money we're looking to have left over compared to last year. Is there a good and smart way we could reinvest this into the business to keep it growing, rather than, if you have to pay taxes, and totally fine, but there could be a better use of those funds. Okay. And last big things when we're talking about building a strong financial foundation is to use financial tools and techniques. There are a lot of inexpensive options for accounting software. There are a lot of inexpensive options for POS systems. And in the day and age of AI and technology, what's really cool is these systems can talk to one another. And that gives you so much information at your fingertips that you can make, like you can have actionable insights with. So I really encourage you to utilize tools that you can, software solutions for budgeting. I mean, if you don't want to pay for a QuickBooks or an accounting program, last time in my budgeting class, I gave everybody a template out of Google Sheets. It's free. There's no cost associated. Those are tools you can use. Financial forecast, which that's what pro formas are, can provide comprehensive visibility into your finances so that you're not just making decisions based on your best hunch. You're making decisions based on actual data that you have at your fingertips. And then really great techniques to make strategic financial decisions are to regularly um, and periodically review your financials. So that's your balance sheet and your profit and loss statement. You want to make sure that you are reviewing those, I would say, at a minimum on a monthly basis, even if you are an established business and you've been operating for years. You should be familiar with those because that's kind of what you're using to make your next decisions. Okay, when we're talking about strategic finance, one of the biggest pieces of that is planning. All right. You can't make strategic decisions that will impact the next 3 to 5 years if you've never really, well, you can, but that's not advised. If you don't know what you plan to do in the next 3 to 5, or even just next year, so strategic finance, this idea of using finances to actually do things that will impact our business for the better. Um, those would include short-term and long-term plans that align with your financial goals. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, how do I create a plan? If you look at our budgeting session from, I think it was just a couple weeks ago, actually, that budgeting session actually walks you through, okay, what are the steps in creating a plan? What do I do first? How do I know where to start? So that it does go in depth for you on that. So let's talk about short-term planning. Short-term planning is a little more like, okay, on a month-to-month or a yearly basis, can I meet my short-term obligations? Do I bring in enough revenues to pay my bills? Can I pay my staff? Can I pay myself? And also just always pay yourself. And a lot of people want to save money by not paying themselves. Paying yourself is great for investors. It's great for banks to see that you actually are profitable enough, because if you didn't pay yourself, that's considered profit. And people who would be reviewing your financial statements are astute enough to know if they're able to pay themselves, their business is successful on some level. Um, so definitely, making sure you can meet your short-term obligations. So short-term planning is only possible if cash inflows and outflows are managed by forecasting and budgeting for near-term financial performance. Most businesses that go under and do not make it have done no planning and aren't familiar with their profitability. And often it's really sad because by the time people realize they are just not covering themselves, they're at a point where then they need to go get additional funding. People don't want to give them funding because their historical financials don't look well. Um, but ideally, short term planning, the goals are to make sure you can cover yourself in the short term, and that you don't have shortages. And I know this sounds weird, or surpluses of cash. Uh, Cash, I know this sounds weird. Surpluses of cash, you might think, well, that's wonderful. Cash that's sitting around unused is cash that could be invested to secure profitability in the long term. Cash that's sitting around unused is also there to be paid in taxes when it could be doing more work for your business. If your business is incredibly profitable, you could be investing in other businesses where you don't have to be the person managing them, but you would be getting a portion of their returns for investing. So don't just think, okay, we're profitable, we're crushing, we're making all this money. Great. Make your money do work for you so you don't have to do work with it or pay taxes on it later. So it's great to think about, just if you have tons of cash sitting around, strategic finance is thinking, okay, how could I invest that so in the next 3 to 5 years, it helps me accomplish more of the goals personally or business wise that I have? Long term planning is made to help businesses to make informed decisions, investment decisions that support your long term growth and success. So this might be it might involve evaluating the financial impact of investment options, such as whether to spend money on capital expenditures. And we're going to go through what those are here shortly. But also, is it maybe a time to merge with another business or acquire a new business, or even to develop new products or services or offerings for your current business. And we're going to talk about each of those things on an in-depth level. Jamie, next slide, please. Okay. So strategic budgeting, and I'm not going to go super into detail with budgeting because we have a whole class on it. But strategic budgeting is creating a budget not just for the year and month that you're in, but thinking about a long-term budget and what you want to achieve for your business. So big things to do this or use a strategic budget is to set financial goals and develop plans to achieve those goals. It creates a long-term financial plan that aligns with the goals and objectives that your business has. It's going to provide you with a clear financial plan that allows you to make better decisions, helps you forecast because you can look at historically what you've done, and it helps you manage your resources better. Strategic budgeting also enables your business to invest in areas that are going to drive growth and profitability. Maybe investing in staff training will pay off in the long run. You don't know that if you don't have a budget to know if you could even afford the training and whether the outcome would be increased revenues or not. A strategic budget identifies areas that need improvement so that you can make necessary adjustments as your business is operating rather than panicking hindsight and having to scramble to get those things together. And last but not least, a strategic budget is going to align your company's goals with the strategy that you have for your business in the long run. All right, building a strong foundation, we want to make sure that we've got financial reporting set up. Even if you're having to do this in Google Sheets is better than nothing at all. I really encourage you to, at a minimum, have a profit and loss statement and a balance sheet. Profit and loss statements, reviewing those a minimum of once a month to look at, okay, what are we doing in terms of money that's coming in and money that's going out, in particular, managing expenses. So reporting and preparing financial statements is another important part of strategic finance. It's going to provide transparency and accountability while allowing stakeholders and yourself to track how well your business is performing. It's shocking the number of people that don't have a budget and don't actually look at the profit and loss statement or the balance sheet that's sent to them if they have someone doing their books. And then they decide that they want to buy a building, and we sit down and their business is at a loss for the year, and they somehow have missed that over the whole year. Then we're trying to put together a pro forma and show how they're going to be more profitable in the future. And it's really a hard thing to do because they haven't caught, oh my gosh, we've lost funds a little bit here and there over the years. And now we're trying to ask someone for more funds in order to grow the business. So we want to make sure that the financial statements at a minimum that we're preparing are the balance sheet, income statement, and statement of cash flows. We want to be able to track our performance over time. So comparing 1 month to the next month, 1 year to the next year, to review trends and patterns. We can figure out what our busy times are and slow times are. We can figure out when we launch new products and if they're having the impact we hope they would, or maybe a product isn't bringing in as much money as it used to. Maybe it's time to retire that product. We want to make sure that we review and analyze financial statements to identify areas of strength and weakness in our business so we can have a plan to improve those. And then we want to make sure we're tracking the variance or how far off from what we budgeted for is what we're actually doing. Okay, so strategic growth and risk management. This is really important. A robust risk management plan should include securing insurance coverage, diversifying income streams. So not just having one product that you sell, finding other products and services that you can sell or even package together to increase their desire for people to purchase. Contingency planning, so doing a risk assessment of your business, having a backup plan and backup funds. And then other really important things when we talk about strategic growth and risk management are to simultaneously think about other types or a variety of funding sources, loans, microloans, grants, things that you might need a pro forma for. And when applying for financial support, preparing clear and detailed proposals, which is a big part of what we do at the SBDC, is help you put together a solid business plan and a pro forma for either growing your existing business or if you're starting out kind of in those stages. Okay, so strategic finance includes identifying and evaluating the potential financial risks that could impact the performance of your business. So, things to think about in trying to have a strategic plan to mitigate risk are to think about what is the market doing? What does it look like it could do? I mean, we just had a presidential election, and usually markets get kind of finicky before and after. So, recognizing that trend and thinking about, okay, how can I prepare my business for people to hold on to money for a minute? Regulatory environments, the supply chain, identifying these risks. Strategic finance can help us develop strategies to mitigate or minimize those risks and protect our financial performance until we're kind of in the clear and things are operating normally. Okay, mitigating risk and creating a plan. The last thing we really want to talk about in this first section is to prepare for the future. I know it seems counterintuitive, but planning ahead is the most crucial thing that you can do for your business's sustainability and for future success. Carefully preparing in the areas that we've discussed before this will help regardless of the circumstances. It also protects your business's legacy, make sure it's secured and continues to thrive. When we're talking about planning ahead, things to be thinking about, even in the beginning or middle stages of your business, are to create a succession plan. It's going to ensure that future leaders can take over where you've left off. Your business could expand in your absence, and that a smooth transition would happen when you exit. And then having an exit strategy. This is being well informed about what necessary steps have to happen or the options that enable you to exit your business on your own terms, whether you're retiring, selling, or transferring ownership. So strategic finance and solidifying like the ability of your business to survive involves having this kind of end stage plan. So in this last section, we're going to talk about the last three components of strategic finance in small business and things that you can be doing within your small business to operate long-term and be sustainable. Okay, so mergers and acquisitions. We're going to talk just a little bit about what they are, when you might use them. So a merger is when company owners of two or more businesses agree to combine their business in an attempt to expand their reach, gain market share from competitors, and reduce the cost of operations. An acquisition is technically a purchase of another business, and you might do this because you're a more profitable company and you want to absorb either the shares or offerings of another business to gain control of a portion of that business. Okay, so why would we consider a merger acquisition? Biggest reasons you might consider this as a business that's established is to grow your income or the market share that you take up, to survive unforgiving competition in the industry, and also to overtake competitors. So maybe you have a competitor who's really cramping your style, but they're not doing so well. This might be a great opportunity if your business is really thriving and you have additional funds to purchase your competition and get rid of them through an acquisition, but also strengthen your offerings. Probably these last two are kind of going to be the more important things for you to think about as a small business owner. Are capital investments. This is just acquiring physical assets for your company to further its long-term business goals or objectives. And some examples of that are going to be like land, building, buying furniture or fixtures, which that's a little less important in the long-term scope. You know, furniture and fixtures um, lose their value a little faster than things like land and buildings. If you're in a company that uses any large machines, those are capital investments, using your money to purchase assets that will add value to your business portfolio. And then software development and computing devices, those are going to be examples of investing money that you have as a business to secure the long-term profitability of your business. Okay, why would you want to consider a capital investment? Why would I want to spend money on things if I'm trying to be a business that makes money? So this is a long-term growth strategy. A company plans and implements capital investments in order to ensure that they can grow in the future. It might be to increase the operational capacity, capture a larger market or larger share of the market that you're in, or generate more revenues. If you're thinking about selling your business, you might want to really get your company cranking out at the top of its operational capacity and making as much revenue as possible, and be able to show that to someone who's thinking about potentially purchasing. Capital investments also might just be necessary for operations. And capital investments can also increase the business value when you're thinking about reselling your business. So if I'm going to look at buying a business and the cost of to buy that business doesn't include a building, it might not be worth it to me. What if the lease that the business is under goes belly up, and now I'm the person thinking about purchasing it? Well, I might not do that if it doesn't have some sort of capital that coming along with it in terms of land or property or equipment that still has value. So other things, and really important for small businesses, are, should we add a new product or service? This is probably the thing that will come across your plate more often than not. Um, it must make financial sense to launch a new product or service. Creating a pro forma can help you determine if offering something new is right for your business. I work with people pretty often. You can go ahead to the next slide, Jamie. I work with businesses and people pretty often, and they're not sure if they should expand. And we sit down and we create a pro forma, and it really is that piece, that tool that tells us, yes, it's a good time to expand, or no, this really isn't going to bring in additional revenues. So there are some good reasons to expand your offerings. That would be to increase sales to your existing customers. Maybe you've been open for a long time and you need to attract new customers. It helps buffer against market swings. It might help the cost effectiveness or boost the product margin on items, because you can spread your fixed cost across a couple of different things that you're creating. It also might help you beat your competition if you're in a really competitive market, or like maybe you own a coffee shop and there's 15 coffee shops around you. What could you add that is going to give you the competitive advantage to get more people into your business? All right. So when we talk about strategic finance, rather than go chuck tons of money at a new product or service, it is really important to do the things that are covered here. You want to do market research. You want to make sure there's a need for what you want to add. You want to determine how and where you're going to sell your items. Are you going to do that online? Are you going to do that in person? And revise your marketing plan to match up with how you will sell things and how you're going to let people know that you're offering items. You're going to want to create a pro forma to make sure financially it makes sense to add the product. And then you're going to want to plan a budget for the product. You're going to want to know how much are things going to cost me if I add a new product or service. And then lastly, you want to think about, do I need to train myself or my staff? And how much will it cost to train people to be able to create, move, or sell the new product or service that you're thinking about? Next, Jamie. All right, other strategic finance strategies that you can implement as a small business owner are tracking your financial data, budgeting your expenses, reducing your risk, Growing your revenues by diversifying or having several different income streams, offering subscriptions, utilizing marketing strategies that might bring more people in, and then just being intelligent about how you plan for taxes and using A, putting money back for them, but B, asking yourself, could you possibly have a different plan for those funds rather than let them sit and go into like tax paid in? All right, I think that's it. Are there any questions?
How about I stop recording and then we'll open up for questions?